The Star Wars sequel trilogy is one of the most unique disasters we've ever seen, because despite all these movies grossing over $1 billion, Force Awakens over $2 billion, Last Jedi 1.3, and then of course Rise of Skywalker barely breaking $1 billion. But in retrospect, looking back at these three movies, what it did to the franchise, what it did to the brand, what it did to the Star Wars fan base, it is unquestionably one of the biggest disasters we've ever seen. And now, several years later, people involved, stars of the movie, are still addressing how badly Lucasfilm fucked this up. For a long time now, we've known that there really was never a plan, or whatever loose base plan they had, they never stuck to it. There was no leadership. There was no one really driving the ship. And now Adam Driver is revealing something that we hadn't necessarily heard before. Kylo Ren's redemption wasn't originally planned for the Star Wars sequel trilogy. And this is coming straight from the mouth of Adam Driver. Adam Driver says Kylo Ren's original Star Wars arc got overhauled. He was supposed to be the most committed to the dark side by the end. And now listen, if that's the only thing that changes, of course it doesn't save this trilogy. There's a lot of things that could happen to improve it. I'm not sure if there's anything they could really do with the way they started, what they did to Han Solo, not killing him, but turning him into a massive piece of shit. How they had Luke Skywalker, everything he did. I don't know what they could have done in this final movie to help fix any of that. But certainly, all the choices they made may have been the worst ones they could possibly make. Listen to Adam Driver on The Rich Eisen Show.
But did you know that at least you're playing Vader 2.0? Like, at least did you know that as conceptually?
I did, yeah. And I had an overall arc that in mind that he wanted to do, which, you know, then changed. But his idea was that almost the opposite journey of Vader, where Vader starts the most confident, the most, committed to the dark side. And by, the last movie, he's the most vulnerable and weak. And he wanted to start at the opposite, where this character was the most confused and vulnerable. And by the end of the three movies would be most committed to the dark side. So I tried to keep that arc in mind, regardless if that wound up not being the journey anyway.
And that in and of itself, one, it would just point more to me that they drew so much inspiration for this character. They ripped it off from the expanded universe, Jason Solo, Darth Caedus, but that's a completely different story that I've been down multiple times. But that in and of itself is not an inherently bad idea. The idea of Kylo Ren becoming darker and more committed to the dark side as he went and becoming incredibly powerful as the trilogy went on. Not the worst idea in the world.
Because it changed, obviously, as we were shooting.
Yeah, right.
Right, but I was still kind of focused on that.
When did it change?
With Ryan, he took it into a different direction, but still it kind of still tracked with the character. Then the last one, it changed into being, about them and the dyad and things like that.
And then again,
none of this shit was planned. We've known this for years now. None of it was planned. They changed so much in the final movie. Of course, after letting Rian Johnson do what he did, then having to come back and try to write some of the direction of it, it was always going to be a challenge. But yes, none of this shit was fucking planned.
Again, so you
and kind of evolving into Ben Solo. That was never part of it.
That wasn't either?
No. Ben Solo, he was Ben Solo from the beginning, but it was never a version where we actually see Ben Solo when I first signed up for it.
It just would have been an incredibly dark Kylo Ren who just went further down the path to the dark side, right? And interestingly enough, the idea of Kylo being redeemed in some way or whatever may have came from this meeting that Dave Filoni was involved in. For all the people that love the fact that Dave Filoni is now going to be even more involved in Star Wars, even though he always has been involved in these decisions. If you go back between Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, you had discussions going on with all these big creatives and executives at Lucasfilm, including Dave Filoni, talking about how, you know what, maybe we need to make Leia the center of the sequel trilogy, make her the Obi-Wan of the sequel trilogy, because there's something powerful about the matriarchy subverting the patriarchy. And even talking about redeeming Kylo Ren. Isn't that interesting? I love the idea. There's a powerful idea about this matriarchy coming back and subverting what has always been dominantly patriarchal in male heroes. He adds, what happens with Kylo and what he does to his father is structurally not a redeemable act. There's no coming back from that the way he does it currently. But I've never seen the mother figure try to do it, and maybe she could. This is setting the stage for that switcheroo that we're talking about. All these execs, including Dave Filoni, talking about this, but Adam Driver revealing that one, they made the complete wrong turns every step along the way. They made the wrong decision with the sequel trilogy. But two, it's just confirming what we knew all along, that this thing, it was not planned out the right way. They didn't stick to anything. They just made it up as they went along. And you end up completely changing things in the last movie. That's why it felt so hollow. That's why it felt so unearned, because nothing was actually set up. They just created it all on the fly. Now Adam Driver coming out and saying, yeah, this was never the original plan for my character. What do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments section below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.